In 1983, Adam Ant released his album Strip, and my friend Jeanie and I are going to talk about it on this episode of Records with Ray. So I'm an Adam Ant fan, like most kids from the 80s. Mm-hmm. But my introduction into Adam Ant was Goody Two Shoes. Love that song. I still love that song. And I went out and I got, Adam Ant's Friend or Foe, Prince Charming, Kings of the Wild Frontier. Mm-hmm. All the true classic Adam Ant stuff. He was doing the what was the name of that style that he had going? New Romantic look?
So that was what they called the neo-romantic period, or the first of the costume performers, because MTV had just become a thing.
Yeah.
And so your style was as important as your music.
How did he come up with that style?
So about the same time that Blondie and the other kids who were beginning to do that almost punk sound but not punk, they were all coming up with a gimmick. And so the label Epic that he was working with at the time decided that Adam was really pretty and he looked really great in a queue.
Okay.
And so they dressed him up in a hussar's uniform for a shoot. And it just kind of grew and grew and grew, and then all of the ants ended up in those similar type of costumes and that. And then that became so much a thing, it became an impediment to him. And so his next step was to strip it away.
So let's talk about Strip.
So Strip is his Game Change album. And
how so?
So up until that point, we've got Stand and Deliver, you've got Jolly Roger, you've got Desperate But Not Serious, and they're all, it's the Adam Ant classic rhythm. Yep. Boom, 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 right?
Yeah, the main thing that I love about Adam Ant is the drums.
Right.
And it's funny, it's interesting. Well, fun fact, essentially his band left him and then went on to do Bow Wow Wow.
Yes.
Because I remember when I heard Bow Wow Wow, I'm like, wow, this music is very similar to Adam Ant. Well, it's the same band.
Yes.
Because I don't think any of those musicians are on Strip.
No, they're not. So at that point, he breaks off, and Strip is basically like a solo album. He gets a backup band that's out of the studio, and he writes all this different material, and it's all a cohesive story for the first time.
How so?
So if you start the album from the beginning to the end, it's a sexual exposé. From the beginning, it's a seduction through the entire album.
Oh wow! Okay.
So that's why every '80s teenage girl was glued to MTV because it was the porn of the '80s.
Yeah.
And he stripped away everything. He stripped away his makeup. He stripped away the hussar's uniform. He went down straight to a poet's shirt, nothing fancy. The makeup had been a really big deal. It was that French Indian War paint.
Yeah.
All that came off.
Now, why did he do that? Was that intentional?
It was intentional.
But why? Was he tired of that image or that look? Or
he felt it had boxed him in, so he couldn't do anything new.
Yeah.
So when he did Strip, it was like literally a love letter to all the girls that were still buying all his albums.
Yeah.
And it was a seduction. And so this is when his early stuff, you'll only see a handful of them that ended up in video.
Yeah.
Because MTV was really new.
Yeah.
And so Strip Show came out in about '84. It was my first concert. And
was it '84?
Strip Show '84. It's when it came to Seattle.
Wow.
So I know because I was underage.
For some reason in my mind, I thought that would have been like in the later '80s. No, '84.
Yeah, Strip Show '84, and it was my first concert, my first big name concert, and my chest got me in the door and into the front row.
Wow.
So, hey, sometimes it's a good thing, even though gravity's got me now. But the whole stage was even set up that way. So he'd stripped away the stage, and it just you were in a stable, quite literally, with Adam Ant, and he was losing his garments as he went.
Wow.
And that was new. Madonna hadn't really done it yet. She was just dipping into that Papa Don't Preach kind of stuff and the boy toy movement. And you had the same thing going where the only person who showed, I think, more pubic hair than Adam Ant was Iggy Pop.
I think I'd rather see Adam Ant's pubic hair than Iggy.
I know, everybody's seen Iggy's.
Whether you like it or not.
But the album itself, it's a whole story. So it talks about this interlude between him and the person that he's singing to for the whole album. And it talks about her coming to the city and getting wised up. That's the Puss in Boots number.
Yeah.
Then they get together in the strip number. Then they move on to Exploration in the Spanish Games number. And then it kind of all ties up in the knots at the end. And for once, you really don't hear his rap sound, which was a new thing too. He and Blondie ushered in that whole kind of rap sound. So when you go back and you look in the old annals of rap, if you look it up, you'll see Ant rap is really, really early. That's like British, late 70s. He's working it out about the same time Blondie comes out with her number in the U.S.
Yeah.
And it was this offshoot of punk. So with rap, they were trying to get through a message using the drum behind them, and they hadn't really moved into like skittering records or anything like that yet. It was matching up lyric, matching up tone of the drum and the tone of the voice, and moving back and forth, and having it. You're kind of having an entente with the drum.
Yeah.
And so if you hear him, and he's got a lot of rap type things through the initial album with the Ants. And when he breaks off from the Ants, he really kind of loses that. And then his albums after that, they get further and further afield and more melodic.
So let me ask you something, Jeanie. So Strip, was that the first thing you heard from Adam Ant, or were you a fan before?
He got me with Prince Charming.
Okay, Prince Charming. So obviously you did like the old school Adam Ant.
I went back and found them. So like I grew up as a choir girl and I was overseas a lot. And so what would happen is I would find out about things in a backward way from most of the kids in the U.S.
Yeah.
So I'd be on tour and I'd be in Virgin Records, and out would be his European release. Well, his European release is way ahead of his U.S. release. So I pick up an album overseas, like Viva La Rock, and and I come home and there's still copies of Prince Charming sitting around. So I had the edge on everybody.
So you're already a couple of streets.
Yeah, so I was a couple albums ahead of everybody. And it took a while for those U.S. releases to catch up. And then he hits MTV really big because Adam was really pretty. And the girls would watch because he's this flash, he's got all this costuming. It's really, he did stories through his videos, which was new. They didn't really do a lot of that. You know, for a long time, MTV was, I'm just playing my thing here. And Adam was one of those people that put a story in the video where you were solving the puzzle of what's going on.
Yeah.
And by the time you got the end of the song, you got it.
So let me ask you something. So when Strip came out, what did you think? Because before that you had Adam Ant, as you know him, and now it's like literally a stripped down version of Adam Ant. What was your first impressions of that?
Yum.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're like, finally he got rid of all that stupid makeup.
No, I love the stupid makeup. It was awesome. But Adam as a person was very yummy. And there was not a teenage girl that didn't go pant when Adam came on.
So it didn't matter for you, makeup or not?
Makeup or not, he was amazingly cool and very yummy. And then, because the only other outlet for that at the time was Prince.
Really? Would that be it?
Pretty much. So if you were in high school here in Seattle, we had an underground kind of punk scene going on where you'd snuck out. But Adam was one of the first ones where he actually got one of those explicit lyrics stickers early. And it was slapped right on Strip. And there was an explicit warning on his show when it came to the Paramount.
Really?
And so they were carding as people were going in. And if you weren't 17 or older, they were turning you away if you had a ticket. And so,
wow.
I'm 15 or less, and I go down to the Paramount, and I'm desperate to get into Adamant. And so it's the old days. Come on, people, it's the old days. And I plumped up my chest, which was pretty substantial at the time, and I wandered up to one of the bouncers and waved my ticket under his face, and he didn't card me, and I went to the front row. And there it all was. And it was like that kind of energy, those sort of lyrics, that was for Seattle groundbreaking. I mean, we were a pretty tiny town at that point. I mean, it's not the metropolitan madness you see today at all. It was the last one out of Seattle in the 70s, turn out the lights. And so to have major names come through, this is prior to grunge, this is prior to us being an important Nirvana site. There was not a whole lot happening. So when the big names came through, it was a big deal.
Yeah. Well, so essentially when Strip came out, Adamant wasn't a goody. He wasn't a goody two shoes anymore.
No, not at all. And he'd already been playing the danger card with the other albums, you know, Stand and Deliver, you know.
What'd you think of that stupid joke?
That was pretty bad. I was ignoring it.
Hey gang, this is Ray, and I just want to say thank you very much for checking out my video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see more videos, please click on the subscribe button. And if you like what you see, please give it a like. That would mean a lot to me. And if you're wondering why I'm wearing Hawaiian shirts, well, when I'm not talking about records, I'm talking about my other love, Tiki. I have a show called Tiki with Ray. If you want to check that show out, just search Tiki with Ray on YouTube. It'll come up.